All right, so let's take a look at predator-prey interactions. So predation is the consuming of one organism by another. And a predator is an organism that does the consuming, and a prey species is the organism that is consumed. Now, when we typically think of predator-prey, we think of like a lion eating an antelope, but another predator-prey situation is an antelope eating some grass. All right, so let's look at predator-prey cycles. So this is showing a predator-prey cycle that we see in a lab-type situation. In a lab-type situation, what's going to happen here is a predator eliminates the prey, and then the predator species dies after that. So you can see here paramecium, there's a lot of paramecium there, and then denidium, a predator of paramecium was introduced, and the denidium essentially killed all the paramecium, and then the denidium died. And that's what will happen in lab situations. Now, let's look at another situation that occurs in the wild, and this is typically what we see with a single predator and a single prey species, all right? Because we typically don't see cycling that occurs in when a predator has many prey species, because the predator will just switch to a different prey species that's more common if one of the prey species gets low. But if it's a single predator, single prey species situation, you're going to see these fluctuating up and down occurring cycles in both populations. So what happens here is we look at this is showing lemmings. Now lemmings are small rodents, and this is a stoat, which is a small weasel, and these are found in Europe. All right. So on these islands in which you have these two species occurring, what you see here is as the lemming population increases, so will the stoat population. So the predator population will increase. All right. So this will occur until the predator population has a negative effect on the prey population. So the prey population will decrease. And because the prey population is decreasing, well, now there's less food for the predator, so the predator population will decrease as well. Until the predator population is so low that this allows the prey population to increase again, which you'll then see another increase in the predator population. And then you'll see this cycle occurring over and over again. All right, so the predator population will go up and down with the prey, but it'll be a slight lag behind the prey species population. Now, predation also reduces competition between prey species. As I was kind of mentioning earlier, if we have a situation where we have a predator and many prey species, that predator is going to essentially get the prey species that is the most common. So, they don't care if it's a zebra or an antelope. A lion doesn't care if it's a zebra or an antelope or a wildebeest. It's whatever is available to it. And if there are more of a certain species, well, that's the species they'll go after, just because there's more of them. There's more of them around. All right. What also this can happen is that a predator species can act as what is known as a keystone species. And this is a species that plays a vital role in a community. And so this is showing a nice, vibrant community here, lots of different species. But what we can do in these intertidal zones is if we remove the sea stars from them, those sea stars are predators of the clams. And so if we remove the sea stars, then the clam population takes over, and the clams outcompete all the other different species that are found there. So sea stars play a very, very important role in this environment. A similar thing happens on the savannas of Africa, where elephants are those keystone species. Elephants are going to prey upon small trees. And so what happens by prey upon small trees, they literally knock the trees over to get to the leaves on those trees, is this prevents the trees from getting larger, which then would turn the savanna into a woodland area. So now let's take a look at plant and animal defenses. So I don't have any pictures of plant defenses, but you can think about these. They're there to avoid predation. So they'll have structural defenses, whether those are thorns or spines or sticky residues, which could get insects caught into them. Or they can have silica in the leaves. So by having silica, which is essentially sand in the leaves, this will grind down the teeth of their predators. And so the predators might avoid that particular species that does that. Next are chemical defenses. They could have toxins or chemicals that make them taste bad, or hallucinogens. So hallucinogens are a defense for organisms like marijuana plant. Because if a deer ate some marijuana, like the human, it would become high from that. This will alter its reality and make it more susceptible to being preyed upon by, a wolf or a coyote. So once the deer is no longer high, it will avoid going back to the marijuana plant, unlike humans. So now let's look at animal defenses. So this is showing some mechanical defenses, so sharp quills, like what we see on a porcupine here, or armor, like what we see on an armadillo, right? A lot of these guys have claws and fangs and so forth, all right? Next are chemical defenses, so stings or fangs that inject venom, like a snake has, or a wasp with the stingers there. Or they could secrete poisons like this poison dart frog here. So some absorb poisons from the food that they eat, like the monarch butterfly. So the larval stage of the monarch butterfly, the caterpillar, feeds upon milkweed, and that milkweed tastes bad to predators there of the monarch. What also you see with these guys is they show this defensive coloration, so this warning, or also known as aposematic coloration. So they advertise their poisonous nature. These little guys don't want to be mistaken for another frog that lacks these poisons. It's saying to everything around there, with these bright colors, don't eat me because you're going to die. All right, so here's just another poison dart frog. I love these little guys. They're mostly little tiny guys like this big. They're pretty cute and deadly at the same time. Next is a cryptic coloration. So here's showing that warning coloration there, once again with the monarch. So here's showing a blue jay throwing up from eating a monarch there. So next is cryptic coloration, also known as camouflaging. And this is where you can blend into the environment. So this is showing a praying mantis blending in. This only has not only a defensive function for the praying mantis, it also has an offensive function. So it can blend in, so it can ambush some prey species. Okay. This is showing a caterpillar here, looks like a stick. This is showing a lizard right here. It's its tail, there's its head, blends in pretty well to that tree. Same with this right here. This is a gray tree frog here. There's its eyes, there's a leg, there's a leg. So another is just behavioral defenses. So you can do hiding or escaping or schooling like these fish are doing. You could have alarm calls, or like this bird does, throwing up on the predator there. Now let's look at mimicry. Mimicry is where one species resembles another species. And the first type is called Batesian mimicry, and so that's what we see here. And this is a form of mimicry in which one species that lacks defenses mimics another that has successful defenses. All right? So here is a monarch butterfly. These guys taste bad. This is a viceroy butterfly. They don't taste bad, but because they look like the monarch, predators are going to avoid them as well. And I'm going to tell you, if I saw a viceroy butterfly just flying around, I would also think it's a monarch. Next is Mullerian mimicry, and this is a form of mimicry in which several species with protective defenses mimic one another. And so a good example of this is bees and wasps. Bees and wasps resemble each other, and so that resemblance to each other makes them so that predators don't have to try to figure out which species is bad and which is not. They're all bad, right? So all bees, all wasps, they sting, so you just avoid them all. They all look fairly similar, all with this black and yellow coloration to each other. All right. Now, I do want to point out, this is not a Mullerian mimic. This is a Batesian mimic. This is a moth. This is a wasp. All right. We go to the next picture. These are wasps over here. These are flies on this side. So these here are Batesian mimics of these two, but these two are Mullerian mimics of each other. All right. Oh, this is showing another Batesian mimic. So here's a little spider that resembles ladybug. Ladybugs also have bad taste to them. All right. So it avoids predation that way. Right, and oh, ladybugs also show that aposematic coloration, saying, don't eat me because I taste bad. All right, next is self-mimic. This is a form of mimicry in which one body part resembles another body part. This is a caterpillar. Looks like some bird poop there. This is not the head of a snake. This is actually the tail of a caterpillar. So if we look at this next picture, you can see there's the caterpillar, there's its tail. So that's what that is showing there. Eye spots that a lot of moths and butterflies might have resemble the eyes of owls and other birds.